Okay. Okay, so if you made us to the class, amazing. I had a major issue with the link, so I'm gonna send the recording to everybody who didn't make it. And you have a chance. So if you're watching this in the recording and you have questions, then just email me or ping me. Again, I apologize if you registered and didn't get the correct link. Something for me to improve next time, to test the link before. So you can always reach out and ask questions if that's you. Okay, I'm gonna mute. So if you're joining, please mute yourself so we don't hear noises. So anyway, let's go. Okay, a little bit for those who haven't. So I would love for you guys to drop something in the chat as we go along, so I don't feel like I'm just sitting here talking to myself. But you know, if you're driving, definitely don't. But if you like say haven't met me, you can put in the link like put in the chat like haven't met you or don't know who you are. Or you can also introduce yourself if you're not driving and just type in your name, where you're from, so I get a sense of who's here on the call today. So I was born in Minsk and moved to US 22 years ago. This is my family here in the picture. I was in a business career in accounting, and then I changed to careers to follow my passion. So now I'm a therapist, and I do, yeah, hi, Barrett. So, and I do a lot of fun things. So I call myself not your typical therapist, because I'm pretty innovative. I use things that normal therapists don't use. So for example, I use psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, and today's class is not about psychedelics. But if you're interested in psychedelics and you want to talk about it, you can always ping me separately, because it's one of the modalities that I use. I also do family constellations. I'm a trauma specialist. And basically, what this class is about, I help professionals move through their blocks in a wholesome way. But basically, I help people overcome the resistance on their way to their goals. So if it's not clear, let me know. But I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that. So who's this class for? I basically wanted to give a class on psychological process, and explain psychological process of achieving goals. Most people, when they have goals, they run into some kind of blocks. And if you resonate with that, you can put blocks in the chat. But basically, like if we, knew what we wanted and then we went ahead and got it, like I wouldn't need to teach this class. But what happens usually is that we know what we want, and then there's sometimes we don't know what we want. So I'm going to talk about that. That's kind of first step. And then you start moving towards your goals, or like you figure out a goal, and then you start moving towards the goal, and then something happens. Like you get stuck, you get blocked. So people often come to me and say, I feel blocked. Like, I don't know what to do. I feel stuck. So if you ever, so let me know if it resonates for you or not. But basically, that's just normal human condition. Some of us don't, have it. But if you do feel like you're stuck or you're blocked on the way, I'm going to teach you the process on how to overcome those blocks today. For the purpose of this class, I talk about flow. Oh, it's not a good resolution picture, but flow is unhindered movement towards your goals. Just for the purpose of this class, that's what we're going to use as definition. So it's your ability to flow, to go towards your goals, go towards what you want in your life. Yeah, procrastination. Yeah, so procrastination, avoidance. We have all kinds of blocks that we use, we all, we use or we encounter. So this is what, this flow, this unrestricted flow feels like you know what you want and you're going towards it, and there's this continuous flow of energy and life towards your goals. So this is definition for the first purpose of this class. So let's talk about the cost of not feeling flow and feeling stuck. A lot of people say, Irina, I just feel like I could do more in this life. Like, I feel like I'm not realizing my full potential, and my life kind of feels like a waste. You resonate with that, you can put something in the chat, but it's pretty common. We all have, as human beings, we have such a tremendous potential in us, and maybe realizing like 10%, if that, most of us, because of all these blocks inside. And then when we're not flowing and feeling stuck, we're not having what we want in life, we not experience that satisfaction, when you expressing yourself and you're going for what you want, there's like this deep satisfaction that you have, that you like, yay, like at the end of the day, you feel really deeply satisfied. You can't experience this flow of creation and expression of yourself into the world. And that feels like the stuckness and blah. It's like, just doesn't feel good. And you live in this anxiety and self-doubt and stress and all that not fun things. But you also don't have the results that you want. You don't have maybe the career that you want. You don't have the money that you want. You just don't have what you want. And that feels painful. There's pain in not having what we deeply desire. And there's pain in not realizing our full potential, because that's the deepest satisfaction and joy, is to feel like you can express who you really are. So hopefully you brought a pen and paper. If you're driving, you can just kind of think about it. But we're going to do the first part of this process. It's called What Do You Really Want? And you won't believe how many people I encounter in my practice or in life who just don't know what they want. And there's very deep psychological reasons of why that's the case. And that's because, well, let's face it, a lot of times in childhood, nobody really cared about what we want. Especially if you come from Soviet Union childhood like myself. It just wasn't the practice that the child that we were like really witnessed and asked what we want. It's like everything was about what our parents thought we should do, and society. So a lot of us, this is the main block. The block that we don't know what we want. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time here for you to connect to what is it that you really want. Couple pointers. Your want is not a should. So a lot of times people confuse their want with the should. The should is like, I should get healthy. I should go to the gym. People live from the place of should. Like, this is, if you're not aware of where you're coming from, this is such a common place to come from. And that's not what you want. That's not what I'm talking about. A want is also like a pressure, like you feel pressure to succeed or to make more money, but it's not like it's just pressure. It's similar to should, a little different flavor. Your want is also not what your parents or society or your husband or wife wants. This is where all the problems started, I want this. My parents don't hear what I want. They force what they want. And now I don't know what I want. I only know that my dad wanted me to be a lawyer. But nobody asked me what I want, but they kind of wanted that. They thought it was a good career, so I'm going to do that. And guess what? When I'm 30, 40, and I'm in the wrong profession, that doesn't feel good. Your want is also not your duty obligation. it's duty obligation feels like I have to. I have to. I have to get a promotion so I don't know, my husband will be happy or my wife will be happy. I have to do this. This is like a variation of pressure, but it's just not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about want or desire. Your want is also not people pleasing, like, oh, if I get famous and people will like me. So that's external motivation, right? I'm seeking that external validation. So if I become this, then people will approve of me. If I have a good car, I want a good car because if I have a good car, people will admire me. So none of that is gonna work for our purposes because you know what? You're not gonna have enough drive or passion to perceive any of this. You're gonna rely on willpower and kind of pushing yourself through it. But willpower is very limited. And this is so achieving from any of those places can work, but it's not really effective because the motivation is short-lived and you rely on willpower, which is a limited resource. And as you can see at the gyms, people who come to the gym in January because they feel like they should get healthy and they should exercise are gone from the gyms by February. And I'm sure there's lots of fun research on that, but you can even anecdotally like go to the gym in January and then by February it's back to being empty because they all feel like they should exercise. They have to exercise, but they don't really want to exercise. And that motivation never works long term. So don't do it. So let's talk about your wants. What does your want feel like? It has a visceral experience. So you know that you found your want when you feel joyful, when you feel alive, when it's like exciting. It's really somatic experience. So if you brought a pen and paper, let's do a little journaling exercise right now. And if you haven't or you're driving, no worries, just think about it. But say if you just we'll just take your career, but you can apply this process for any goals really, but just focusing on this career today. What do you really want? So write down, what is it that you really want in your career? And you can put something in a chat too. Yeah, by the way, if you putting something in a chat and you can give me a sense of what you want and what your block is, then I can also kind of help you to move through it or to have more clarity, just to make it very applicable to you. So if you wrote down like I want more money, so what is the want underneath that? What's the deeper want? Like I want more money so I can be free. Give you a couple examples while you're writing or thinking. Like for me, I just want to be expressing myself. Like I really just want to feel fully expressed in my work. Yeah, be successful. What does it mean to be successful? So if you write something general like successful, think about like I want to have a certain position, like I want to be a manager at the company. I want to get a promotion. Yeah, satisfaction. Yeah. Yeah, one of you. So that's where satisfaction comes from. Like I believe satisfaction comes from being able to fully express who you are into the world, because there's like this energy, this life that wants to move through you. But if you blocked, it's like this energy cannot be expressed, and it feels like depression, it feels like emptiness, it feels like stuckness, it feels like self-doubt. Yeah, power. Great. Power is like awesome. Like I wanna be in the world, like I'm influencing the world, right? Like I'm changing it the way I want to. That's how I think about power. Like I'm bending the world in the way that I want, and I also get to feel like I got it. I'm capable, I'm competent, like I got it. So that's, to me, that's, I don't know what's, that's what you meant. Yeah, make things the way I want. Exactly. That's power. And it feels good. It feels satisfying. And then at the end of your life, you look back and you're like, wow, I really like, I played, you know, I played with this life. I get to affect it. I got to express myself, and I made an impact. Some people really want to make an impact because they want to feel like what they did in this life mattered. And when they, and I'm one of those, like I want to, like, I always think of this, if you want to go deeper in this exercise, imagine that you're dying, like when you're 90 and you're dying, and you're really like saying goodbye to this life. What would be one regret that you had if you didn't make it? So for me, when I imagine myself dying, and I'm just like really saying goodbye to this life, I would be like, I would regret not going all the way. I would regret holding myself back from expression. I would regret not fully like expressing myself into the world, like my full force, my full power, my full expression. If I held it back, I would be disappointed. So that's a good exercise. I just give you another 30 seconds or so to imagine that you're dying, and what would you really regret? Or if you really had something, how would you feel? Yeah, that power examples. Okay, you have something? Hopefully you have something you can come back. So let's check in with what you wrote about what you want. So hopefully you found something that activates you. Like I want to feel power, satisfaction. That's a good examples of those deeper ones. And check if you feel like you deserve to have it. That's a common block. That's a common block without desires. Is that we just don't feel like we deserve to have what we want. It comes from our childhood, of course. It comes from, I don't know if you guys had this experience, but I had this common experience with my parents where I would like ask them for something, and they would say like, oh, we can't. And they would probably feel guilty that they cannot buy it for me. And they would like shame me for wanting this. Like, oh, you know, how come you want another doll? Like you already have a doll. How come you want another one? So, and I would feel shame for wanting more. It's a very common experience for, again, you know, if you didn't come from parents who had a lot of resources or money, and you just as a child, you want things and you were shamed for wanting. Now the step will be painful. You'll have some shame around what you really want. It's painful, really painful when we, yeah, the book. Sash, yeah, you gotta write that book. So feel into this Shame often comes up around power or money, sexuality, of course, but in this context, or being big, like if I wanna really come out in the world in my full expression, then maybe somebody says like, you too much, and that's painful. So if you want powers, for example, just check yourself, like, okay, do I feel like I deserve to have it? Can I have it? Or is there part of me that's like, no, don't, don't. You can't have it. It's too much. Power is bad. Power is evil. Power makes you corrupt. So a little note here that I put, you have to have the energy towards your desire. And that's because, like myself, I have 3 kids, and sometimes I just don't have the energy. So you're gonna be like passionate, compassionate with yourself if you're sick or if you don't sleep. But sometimes there's like no energy towards the life is not flowing because there's no energy. And so that's okay too, but you can still kind of have your desire or your goal in your mind, and take steps that you can take. So even without the block, sometimes we don't have energy, but most of the time we do have energy and we're blocked. So that's usually the case. But sometimes it's just you gotta give yourself some grace. Okay. So if we know what we want, why can't we just move towards it and have it? And here we come to the world of resistance. So if you imagine in your psyche, there's an impulse, want, or desire towards something, there's very often, it's a case that there's a resistance called break, something that works against you and it feels counterintuitive, because why wouldn't your psyche want you to succeed and have what you want? Well, there's very good reasons for it, and I'm gonna mention those. But basically, see how there's a energy, like the energy flowing one way in your psyche, but there's also energy that's flowing the opposite way, which we call resistance or break. And it's your own energy, but it's used against you. It's used to like the opposite force, to suppress your goals. And why does it do it? Well, because it wants to keep us safe. And it doesn't want us to experience painful feelings. And so the resistance is there to really keep us safe from everything we don't want to feel. The types of resistance: avoidance. Let's see. What we're gonna do the exercise about that. But avoidance, beating yourself up, negativity, procrastination, self-sabotage, imposter syndrome. So basically, type of resistance, I don't know if you ever experienced this, guys, but it's like, for me, like I want to do something and I'm like, yeah, I want to do something, okay? And then I start taking steps towards it, and then maybe a thought or there's something in my mind that says, well, that's not really realistic. Like what you want to do is not realistic. I don't know if you guys have it. You can put a plus or something. Or you can tell me what your favorite types of resistance, or you find yourself cleaning your house. You want to, I don't know, express yourself more, or you want to start looking for a new job. So you start working in your resume and you like sit down to work in your resume, but then the next thing you notice and you're like cleaning the house. So that's a common one, right? Avoiding. Or you scroll social media, or you watch Netflix, or there's a voice in your head that comes up and says, well, who do you think you are that you want power? Like, none of your friends have power, so why do you think it's like it's possible for you? And then the energy is like, wah, 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 right? Let's see if you have some good examples. Oh, here we go. Well, there's a plus, but so we're gonna spend, so the next couple minutes, you'll have a chance to reflect on your favorite type of resistance, but I'm very well aware of mine. And I think it's worthwhile to take a moment and think, how do you block yourself? How do you stop yourself from going what you want? Because that's where it's at. That's where the meat of the problem is. My also another favorite one is like negativity. That's a favorite one. That's like, I want to do something, I get all excited, and then this voice comes into my head and says, oh, it's not gonna work. Not gonna work. Nope. Nope. Not gonna work. And I'm like, oh, you're right, that's not gonna work. So it's all pointless. And what's the point anyway? Okay, I'm just gonna go watch some TV. So see how it is? This is what stops us. This is really sucks. This is what creates stuckness and feeling blocked. So the metaphor that I often use, it's like pressing gas and brake at the same time. I don't know if you can see my picture, but here, right? But it's like I want to go, but I don't want to go. I want to go, but I don't want to go. I don't. And now we can't start on things or move, or we move really slowly. We're like overcoming this blocks. And okay, Alison, Sasha, you already know your two favorite ones, but for those of you who haven't figured it out, just take a moment and think, like, what are your favorite ways you're blocking yourself? What is that forces? Sometimes the very hidden that don't let you achieve what you want to achieve, or to have what you want. What does the voice say? Imposter syndrome is another common one. And imposter syndrome creates self-doubt. You just a fraud. You're a fraud. You're a fraud. You don't know what you're doing. So if you want to share in comments your favorite blocks that you get stuck. Just think about one. Knowing, so this is what you can do to get the value out of this class, and not just like listen to me and then don't do anything about it. You can right now identify that block, and next time when it comes up, you can see it. And if you can just acknowledge that it's there as a protection and still take action to goal. Yeah, procrastination is the most common one. And it's so, okay, so I'm gonna let's talk about procrastination a little bit, since that's what. Okay, so this is actually have I can send you guys, if you ping me, I can send you. I did a workshop. It's similar to this one, but I focus more on procrastination. And this is the slide that I used from that, but it's kind of like the same process. If we're talking about your psychological process, this is it. This is, so this outer circle is our protection. So here we have procrastination, avoidance, perfectionism, self-sabotage, stuck in mind, being a critic. What should I do? It's kind of like self-doubt, not wanting, not knowing what to do, kind of like this. Oh, I don't know. And so procrastination and all of that protection is actually, there are two layers. There's something underneath your procrastination. So this is where most people get stuck, is that there's something underneath procrastination that we don't want to feel. And that is usually some pain, some shame, some discomfort, some fear, some guilt, anger. So all those like unpleasant feelings are underneath procrastination. And most people don't have the skills on how to feel what's underneath. And so they stop. They get sucked into procrastination. They get just sort of procrastination takes over, and procrastination is like kind of like tells you, okay, it's not safe to go that other way. Because if you start moving towards a goal, maybe there's failure. Maybe you fail, which is a real issue. Like maybe you're gonna make a mistake. Like today, I made a mistake, and I mean, I'm fine because I've done this work, but it's like it's a there's probably going to be some disappointment about that I'll have to feel later. But because I know how to feel through it, it's not going to stop me to do the next workshop, because I know how to support myself. I know how to process uncomfortable emotions. So I know how to move through this so it doesn't stop me. But a lot of people don't, and they get stuck in this protective layer, unable to move through the second layer. And the second layer is that messy, painful feelings that we don't want to feel, but we need to feel them to break through creativity, joy, love, all this flow, the good stuff. The good stuff is underneath the yuck. And as people, we don't want to feel the yuck, which I get, but we kind of have to. And the good thing is that there are tools and, techniques and process that can help you with that. So, and I'm going to give you that. We can start moving towards your goals today. Does that make sense? So let's, just any questions or anything, you can always put it in the chat, but you'll have a chance to ask questions later. So let's play with this a little bit. So this is what I said. Okay, let's move towards solutions. So we kind of know what the problem is, right? Sometimes maybe I don't know what I want, or maybe I know what I want, and then I feel blocked in taking steps towards it. I procrastinate, I avoid, I watch Netflix, which is kind of like procrastination, or maybe I find rationalizations of why I can't have it. So that's the problem. So how do we move towards a solution? Well, first thing, we need awareness. We can't get far without awareness. And Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you'll call it fate. So everything we're not aware of really, really controls us in a way. So if we don't get underneath procrastination and see what is it that we don't want to feel, procrastination will control us. Procrastination will take charge, and we'll call it fate, right? We're like, well, I guess I'm not destined to write a book. I guess it's just not in the cards for me. But it's really just what we don't know, what's underneath it, that stops us. So let's play with it a little bit. So take a moment, and if you had to guess, what would you say underneath your resistance? What is it that you don't want to feel that stops you from doing the thing? You can put it in the chat, just write it down. You need some help. It's usually fear or shame. Or feeling like I'm not good enough. Some version of that. But for you, what is it that's like you just can't, you can't process, you cannot just, it's so uncomfortable that you're like, I want to shut it down. Yeah, disappointment was big one for me at some point. Shame, for sure. A lot of shame. Fear of failure, but it's more like shame. Fear of shame. Okay, you got something you're gonna share? Yeah. So that's a good point, Such. So yeah, so if you, there's something usually underneath also like self-criticism, right? Like what does self-criticism protects me from? So if I'm avoiding something because I know that when I start doing something, my inner critic comes full force and really starts talking like, oh, you're not good at this, like look at this, you're really like start criticizing. You can take one step further and also see what this inner critic protects you from. But it's, yeah. Okay. Okay, see you later. So here are some tools. Really, you need to increase awareness of the block to work with it, and you can use there's lots of tools like active imagination, dream work. So you basically need to find a way to your subconscious or unconscious in some way, because your blocks are not accessible with your conscious mind. They're not visible, they're hidden. So that's how you know that you need something, you need a tool to kind of dig deeper, dig them out. My favorite tools, the ones that I use, psychedelics, family constellations, and psychotherapy. And I also worked with dream work, meditation, active imagination, hypnosis. So all of those tools can be used if you need to get more awareness of the block. Sometimes people come to me, in my psychedelic therapy practice, and people come to me and they just like, I don't know what it is. Like, I just don't know. I can't, I'm afraid of public speaking. And I know if I want to go in this next level in my work, I need to be able to present, or I need to be comfortable talking in front of people, and just can't do it. I don't know what it is. I just get frozen. So then we work with that deeper, because sometimes there's trauma also, and then you do need professional help with that. But you can do so much on your own too, by just journaling, or like because your subconscious knows the answer. It's not that coach or therapist knows the answer, it's you know the answer, but you're blocking yourself sometimes from seeing it because you don't, sometimes it's scary or it doesn't feel safe. So, but you need awareness. So we're talking about the solution as we're being really aware of what the block is. And then once you know what the block is, you need to accept it. And somebody like asked me what acceptance is, and I use it a lot in my practice, like in my work. Basically, it's not approval. It's not saying, okay, yeah, go ahead, do it, like say with the resistance, but it's more like acknowledging things as it is. So if you, for example, if you have shame, so if you look at your block and there's procrastination, and underneath procrastination, there's fear of failure, you need to accept that fear of failure, meaning to admit that it's there, and then you're still okay even though you have that fear of failure. Does that make sense? I know people struggle with acceptance, because when they hear acceptance, it's like, oh, I'm going to be stuck with it. I'm going to be stuck with this fear, but it's counterintuitive that you need to accept something for it to change. So Carl Rogers said, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. So this is a big one as far as your transformation. So not trying to get rid of it or push it away, but actually welcome it as a part of your human experience. And often it's very hard to do because there's pain associated with what you suppressed. So we develop this quality through connecting to your heart and empathy. So let's do a little exercise with that. So this is about your heart, the softening, accepting the discomfort, loving your discomfort, loving the resistance, loving your fear. So if you found something that is blocking you, see if you can right now imagine it in front of you. And as you imagine it in front of you, see if you can move towards it, lean into the connection with it. Or at least just stay present with it. Let me know what it is for you. I don't know how it is for you guys, so it's something I'm used to doing, so I think that easy. And then people come to me and they say, Irina, I don't know what you're talking about. It happens a lot because in my head it's like, oh, it's easy, that's that's what you do. And then that's why it really helps when people give me feedback. Yeah, so see if you can just be in with it, or imagine that you can be in contact with it, you can be compassionate towards it. If you found like there's a little part of you that's really afraid, you can see if you can give it a hug or comfort and say, yeah, I know it's hard, you're afraid. Okay, you guys got something? So this is really the key to transformation. And I know it sounds kind of so simple, right? So just being aware of something and accepting it. But this is huge. Like, I wish we can teach this process in schools because we're just not used to that. Our culture is about like avoiding discomfort, not going into it. And includes, so there's some tools, like I said, you can learn this. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, or if you tried it and it's like, oh, I don't know, I just can't like lean into it. I don't wanna feel fear or shame. Like, it doesn't make sense. So there are some tools that can help you with that, and you can learn more about it. Just there's a podcast, and it's emotional processing, it's inner critic work, working with the self-criticism that stops you. That's a big one. That's a big block for many. There's like developing concentration and meditation, and inner child work. So inner child work is learning how to soothe the parts of you that are scared to take that next step. So this is under procrastination. There's often the wounded child, the scared child, the child that's wasn't allowed to want or wasn't allowed to be powerful. So learning how to soothe that and give comfort to the parts of you that are distressed when you go into the expansion, going after your next big goal. And that's a amazing skill to have. And it's not, and this is what I think psychotherapy is missing, that there are very tangible skills that we can be teaching as therapists to all people, even to people who are not in therapy. And then using those skills, you can start living, you can start changing your life without years and years of therapy, which is important too, but it's just, I think there's something to the process. So basically, the solution, you need to learn how to stay with and tolerate difficult emotions and how to bounce back from setbacks to stay in course. So yeah, simple but not easy because you need to stay and feel what's difficult. All right, so let's wrap this up and you can guys create a plan for your transformation today. I'll walk you through the steps. So connect to your goal, but make sure it's something that you really want. And then imagine yourself having it. Like, how would that feel? You'll write a book, or you'll be expressed in the world as a powerful being. You'll have that successful career, a financial freedom. And see what's the sensation in your body when you imagine that. The excitement, joy, aliveness. That means you're on track. And now imagine you taking very concrete step towards it. And is there any resistance? Do you feel your energy drop? Do you feel like right away you're like, oh, I can't have that, or I don't know, it's not gonna happen. If so, what is that feeling that's in the way of you and your dream? Maybe it's that simple self-doubt that says you just don't have what it takes. Identify this feeling in your body. I can feel mine is like in my belly. Something that the feeling is like, oh no, like instead of going forward, I feel myself going back. You don't need to know what it is, but more importantly, feel it in your body. And then as you're feeling it in your body, see if you can stay with it for just a moment. Just to welcome it. Regulate your nervous system with some deep breath, communicating that everything is okay. Even if you're feeling this discomfort. And here we go. You can feel the discomfort and be okay at the same time. You don't have to let your discomfort stop you. One word of caution is that if your block is related to trauma, and you'll know this if you start if you have flashbacks or starting feeling really distressed, then right away stop, orient yourself towards being here. It's just I've seen in my work where people can't go for what they want because there's trauma, and they get free, like they get in a free state, they get very high activation. And if that's you, then you can talk to me about working through that, but it's a very specific approach Like if you have physical abuse, sexual abuse, any of that stuff will create blocks, but you need a specialist to usually to work through it. So I know a lot about trauma, and it's a separate workshop. It's a special kind of block because it will create blocks that are very hard to move through. Okay, you guys done it? So give me some pluses if you did this kind of final. 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 Waters. Creating a plan. All right, so this is, so let's see, yeah, we're like right at the end of this. So I'll start with the recording. You guys have a chance to ask me questions, but couple kind of like what's next things. If you you will receive an invitation to have a complimentary session with me after this, so we can kind of go deeper into your blocks. And you'll have to apply, and I'll see, you know, I have a few spots, so we'll just need to see if it's a fit. But I would love to connect to you and see how this landed for you, get some feedback, but also you'll have my help and expertise to help you creating a plan for you. And I do provide group individual support with this. So you can reach out to me if you want to talk about that. You can always stay connected with me on socials, if you signed up and registered, you'll be automatically on my email list. I'm gonna let you know about my events. And I do have a family constellations group coming up in Oakland, December 8th. So again, stay connected. I'll send details about that. So hopefully, my hope is that you got some tools today to start moving towards your goals. At least you got connected with what you want, or you identified that the problem is that you don't know what you want. So if that was you, this is the place to start. Really get clear. What is it that you want, but on a deep level, okay? On a deep level that feels like truth, that feels like life, that feels like aliveness. That will guide you. That energy will guide you. That will create the flow, the direction, your impulse. And then following that impulse, you'll see what's in the way, what's taking you. And if you stay conscious of what it is that's stopping you, and you're willing to do the deeper work to go and feel what's underneath, there's so much you can do in this world. There's so much good things you can do in this world. And I'm really passionate in helping people connect to that life, that impulse, the desire, because that's going to make the world alive, more feeling, more just, creative. And so that's my really goal for you, and desire for you to know that it's possible, and to know there's a specific process that you can do to help yourself. So I'm gonna pause recording. Thank you everyone who made it today. So I'm gonna pause it, and then you guys can ask me questions if there's any. Oh, okay. Oh, that's not the, sure. Okay, here,